And a pleasant good evening to you from the KXN Live studios. This is Instant Analysis, and I'm Billy Gates, your host. And with me to talk about the Texas Longhorns' 20-10 win over the Arkansas Razorbacks in Fayetteville a couple hours ago is KXAN sports anchor and reporter Jonathan Thomas. Jonathan, thanks for chatting. Usually Noah and Roger do this, but Noah's in Fayetteville and Roger is off somewhere. I think he's going to do basketball tonight, right?
Yeah, he's doing the basketball game between UT men and Mississippi Valley State.
Yes, that venerable preseason opponent, Mississippi Valley State.
Look up what their name used to be. Yeah. Everybody.
We had some fun with that earlier in the week in the studio. I don't want to get too off track, but let's talk about football, Jonathan. Texas wins 20-10. Not the most beautiful thing offensively, but they get it done. The story of this game, Jonathan, was defense. I mean, we watched the same game, right? They sacked Taylor Green 6 times. Alfred Collins has just been a man possessed the past 3 weeks playing on the defensive line. Jahdae Barron has a terrific game with an interception, a sack, 7 tackles. Michael Taft leads the way with 8 tackles. I mean, just from a defensive standpoint, Jonathan, what did you see that made the Longhorns just that much better on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, honestly, I've seen what I've seen from this unit all year long, Billy. I mean, the defensive line in particular, the six sacks you referenced, that's a season high for Texas, or tying a season high for the Longhorns. And I mean, they were just all over the place. I mean, everyone was getting either to Taylor Green or disrupting Taylor Green. He never really got comfortable. Taylor Green in the Arkansas offense, I mean, they are 5th in FBS in terms of average yards per game, 483 coming into this one. I believe Texas, they held them to 231 total yards. So that's, less than half of that. So, I mean, Longhorns did a great job of neutralizing the Razorbacks and never letting them get going. I mean, early in the first half, Arkansas went on a great drive, and then all of a sudden, Texas had 2 sacks, some big plays defensively, and it was 4th and 32 for the Razorbacks. I mean, that right there.
That's usually a situation you want to be in as an offense is 4th and 32.
That's right, especially when you're in the opponent's territory and you got a great drive going the way that they did. I mean, at that point, Texas was up 7-0. If they turn that into a touchdown, it's a tie game early in the game too. Whole different complexion. You're not playing uphill the way the Razorbacks had to do after that drive and pretty much the whole game. So that was the first thing. When I think about this game, is the defensive line first, and then of course, like you said, a great job by Jahdae Barron today. He had the 1 pick. He had another near pick. If he could have held on to it. I mean, so they did a great job of just never letting the Razorbacks get going and never letting the crowd really, get into the game as well.
Yeah, and I mean, they held the ball long enough offensively to keep Arkansas off the field. Arkansas only ran 59 plays to Texas 73. Arkansas averaged 3.9 yards per play. Pretty good from a defensive standpoint. Coming into the game, though, I mean, we knew Texas defense was good. I mean, against their schedule, clearly, because they haven't played the best teams, let's all be honest. But number 2 in the country in total defense, allowing 251-ish yards per game. So they improved there against Arkansas, which has a good offense. Like this, with Ja'Quinden Jackson in the backfield and Taylor Green at quarterback, like, they are good. Andrew Armstrong on the outside. He had a nice game. Real big second half for the Razorbacks when they started to come back there in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter. Jonathan, I want to talk about, I mean, the drive for me was that touchdown drive that Ewers led after Arkansas had scored, after Ja'Quinden Jackson scored that 1-yard run, when Arkansas was just hammering it down Texas's throat. Just play after play after play, big chunk play, ended up getting the end zone. All of the momentum is starting to go Arkansas's way. The crowd's getting back into it. Razorback Stadium started getting wild. And then Quinn Ewers, as much as maybe some fans don't care for him, led the Longhorns down the field. He threw probably the best ball he's thrown the entire season to Matthew Golden on a 1-yard touchdown. A 1-yard touchdown. Doesn't seem like a lot, but he put that ball in the perfect spot.
Yeah, if you look at that play, you'll know it was a lot. Exactly where he put it, and a great job by Matthew Golden, too, to haul that in. You know, the play on that drive that really stood out to me, besides the touchdown pass from Ewers, though, was Texas. You know, you need a little bit of luck, especially in these games, and that was Jaden Blue on a long run, and Arkansas, a guy comes from behind, punches it out, but it rolls out of bounds, so the possession stays with Texas.
Yeah.
And I mean, that right there, think about it. I believe it was Bates for Arkansas who knocked that loose. I was actually thinking Bates was going to knock that ball loose because Jaden Blue kind of had it out a little further than you want to. And he was running, coming at him, from behind. So, Blue couldn't see him, at all. So he had the ball out. It's a deadly combination right there. He got the ball out and a guy hunting, seeing it right there. And he knocked it out, but it rolled out of bounds, so it stayed with Texas. And I remember thinking, if that ball, because an Arkansas guy just barely missed recovering that fumble before it went out of bounds.
He watched it roll out of bounds, just out of his outstretched arm. It's like
he kind of
he's in the movies. He's like, no.
He kind of dove a little too late. He kind of dove just a little too late, and that's probably going to haunt him when he watches the film.
Yeah,
but that right there, that kept the drive alive for Texas. And then they did exactly what you have to do when you get a break like that. You got to take advantage of it, and they finish off that drive with points.
That was a 28-yard run for Jaden Blue, his longest of the day, the longest run in the entire game, to be factual, because that's what we are here in Instant Analysis. He ended the day 83 rushing yards on 14 carries. Nice day for him. Obviously, that big run was kind of his highlight. Quintravion Wiesner, 59 yards on 17 carries. Texas didn't blow the doors off offensively, like at all. Only 315 yards of offense, but they were functional, right? Like they got in the end zone. Quinn Ewers, 20 of 32. I've got these stats pulled up. Of course, I've got the team stats right here. I've mentioned a lot of these. Third down, Texas was 4 of 15. Arkansas 5 of 12. Turnovers. That's where the bread and butter is. That's where the money's made. +2 in the turnover margin. Jahdae Barron with the interception, and then the forced fumble by Alfred Collins, the aforementioned Alfred Collins, who's just been tremendous.
And that play right there, again. Arkansas driving down, if they can turn that into a touchdown, then, it's a 3-point game and they've got new life.
Right.
But Alfred Collins, again, the receiver for Arkansas, he had that ball out way too far. And that's going to haunt him when he watches the film as well. And Alfred Collins saw that ball out there, and Texas has done a great job with, if you're a little lax with the football, they're going to punch it out. They've done a great job of punching the football out this season. We saw Anthony Hill do that last week against Florida. So, Alfred Collins made the great play. Texas recovers it and neutralizes. That was pretty much the end of the game right there. All Texas had to do was ice it.
Yeah.
And they did. They held on. They milked 6 minutes and 55 seconds.
Yeah.
Off that clock in the fourth quarter, right after they recovered that fumble. So, that right there, that play won the game for Texas. Arkansas, they were there. They did they were very competitive today, obviously. You mentioned Texas's offense struggled. Arkansas's defense really gave them a lot of problems. The first scoring drive for Texas, it was kind of a typical drive. It looked a lot like last week. They kind of were having their way with Arkansas. But then after that, Arkansas, got right and made things extremely difficult for Texas. But the Longhorns were able to make the plays when they needed it. You mentioned the 2 turnovers. One of them was the interception by Jahdae Barron. That's 15 interceptions, I believe, on the season for Texas. So that leads the SEC as top 10 in college football, in FBS college football. So, the Longhorns, you said that, turnovers, that's where the money's made. They made a lot of it this year.
Yeah. And you mentioned the interceptions and the pass defense in general. Big emphasis on improving the pass defense going into training camp this season. We've talked with Coach Sarkisian all about that leading up to this season. And wouldn't you know it, they have the best pass defense in the entire country. They only give up about 150 yards a game. Tops in the country. Their defense, number 2 in terms of total defense. So, I mean, they've definitely put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, when it comes to shoring up that pass defense. A lot of that has to do with the pass rush as well. I mean, obviously today was tremendous with the 6 sacks and a bunch of hurries. I want to go back to that drive you talked about. So after Alfred Collins forces a fumble, Michael Taft gobbles it up. They get it back. 14 plays, 43 yards. They drain the clock. 6:55. There's a 4th down play there where Quinn Ewers decided to take it himself. 4th and 2. As they knew if they got that first down, they could kneel the clock out after the 2-minute timeout, and they could get out of there with a win. And Quinn Ewers pulled the ball out on a read option and then tried to take on an Arkansas linebacker.
Yeah.
It didn't go that well for Quinn other than he got the first down. He got what he needed. But he tried to take on that big linebacker and didn't really move him. However, he got the job done.
He did. You know what that play was? On the broadcast, Jesse Palmer, the commentator, he was kind of saying, he was like, I know the coach, another Sark just wants him to go down, just wants him to slide, just go down. I don't know if Quinn Ewers had really enough room to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to look at it again, but it seemed like that might have been more dangerous if he tried to dive on that. But what I will say is that I understand that point of view. I think Quinn, that was one of those, this was for his teammates. This was one of those, I want the guys on this team to know that I'm the quarterback. I'm gonna get the tough yards too.
Absolutely.
I can do the exact same thing as a Jaden Blue, Quintravion Wisner, Jared Gibson, so on and so forth. Whoever gets the football in their hands and they got to just push through and take the contact. I can do the exact same thing even though I'm QB1. So I think that was one of those. It was one of those plays where it was yes, it was, obviously about getting the first down, but it was also about sending a message to his teammates as much as it was, as far as what we see the result be on the field.
And to be clear, there were moments where Quinn did not look good. There were some kind of throws he made a little too casually. They're kind of the same stuff that we've seen in sort of pockets the year. However, when it came down to it, that pass to Golden, the second one. The first one he threw to him, Golden was wide open in the end zone. And, I mean, you or I could have thrown it there, I think. Well, maybe not you.
Not me.
But
not me. I gave up for quarterback in flag football in 8th grade, Billy. I gave it up.
That throw, that second touchdown to Golden, where he put it in the absolute perfect spot, where Golden made a wonderful catch, too. I mean, he stretched out completely, caught that thing with his hands, and then as he's going down to the ground with the Arkansas defender on him, he's palming it with one hand away from the defender just to keep it away, just to make sure the official saw that he had control of it. And then there was some little jawing back and forth, but that was probably just hey, good job, man. Nice catch. Hey, good defense. Sure. That's probably what that was, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'll see you later.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We'll hang out.
Yeah.
We'll hang out in the office.
We'll see you after the game, right? And then that play where it's 4th and 2, he's got to get the first down, and if he gets the first down, his team's going to win. It's a competitor's type play. Like we all know how much of a competitor Quinn is. He wouldn't be in the spot that he's in right now if he wasn't a competitor, if he didn't have that fire in him, so to speak, as a cliche goes. But there were times where he wasn't at his best, and I just kind of think that we're going to have to take that as it happens.
The offense wasn't at their best today, at all. I mean, this is not the offense we saw against Florida, which that was probably, I would say, considering the opponent, warts and all. Right. Florida obviously had a bunch of guys out, but they had a lot of the same guys out that were in against Georgia the previous week, and they had a lead in the fourth quarter. Or, excuse me, they were tied in the fourth quarter, with Georgia with about 7 minutes left. So, they have a lot of talent still, or had a lot of talent still on that Florida team when they were on the 40 acres last week. And Texas put 49 on them. And, 500 plus yards on them. Today didn't go that way at all. And, that's definitely something I'm sure Sark is concerned about. I mean, Sark is an offensive guy. He calls the plays.
Sure.
That's, I'm sure that's something that he's going to be really, trying to hammer home this week because they have a great opportunity looking ahead here with Kentucky, a tough team and a tough defense. Kentucky's offense is not very good.
Right.
Kentucky is not a great football team, but they only lost by 1 to Georgia, and it was their defense that was the reason for that. Their defense held Georgia to 13 points. And, Kentucky's going to bring a supreme effort from that side of the ball into Royal Texas Memorial Stadium next week. So it's a good chance, though, for Texas to really, show that, okay, we can get back on track and get this mojo here before the big one against Texas A&M the following week.
That is the big one. But it's only going to be the big one if they can take care of Kentucky, as far as I'm concerned. I think if they get to 2 losses in the tiebreaker scenario in the SEC, it's not going to bode well for the Longhorns because they haven't played the upper echelon teams. They haven't played LSU. They haven't played Alabama. The only team that they've played that's been relatively good at an SEC sort of standpoint, Georgia, they lost, but they beat Vanderbilt. So their best win is Vanderbilt, which is weird to say, but here we are in 2024, and Vanderbilt's pretty darn good.
Vanderbilt's
actually.
Good.
Yeah.
Up is down and down is up.
I know,
these
right?
days in college football.
So the 2010 win over Arkansas moves Texas to 9-1 on the season, 5-1 in SEC play. They're still controlling their way to the SEC title game. If they keep winning, they're going to get in. And like I just said, looking at the tiebreaker scenarios, they can't afford to lose to Kentucky or to A&M in the season finale if they want to be sure that they get in to the SEC title game. Because this whole no divisions thing, sure, it creates drama with all the tiebreakers, but it's a mess.
Well,
bring back divisions, please.
Well, as our Texas Game Day analyst, that's our pregame show, by the way. Watch it on KBVO.
An hour before every game.
Hour before every game. But Dan Neal, former Texas offensive lineman, a 2-time Super Bowl champ, he had said,
and great hair, by the way.
Great hair, although he cut some of it. Still
look good on camera, man.
I know. I like the long hair a little better from Dan, but hey, he felt like he had to make a change. It's his hair. It's his choice. But I would say though, as far as he had a great line where he was talking about. If it gets to this, scenarios and tiebreakers, you're gonna need a NASA engineer to settle that. And I agree. Like, that's not something that I'm interested in trying to decipher. Or you're not interested, or Sark and the Longhorns. So they got to just win and make it easy.
Or get a 4th grader who knows how to play Fortnite or Roblox or whatever, Minecraft. I'm just naming all the games my nephew plays. I don't even know.
I was gonna say, I don't even know if Fortnite is that popular anymore, is it?
I don't know.
I think that one kind of faded away.
Dude, I have no idea. I watched
Minecraft still.
I watch the VMAs for my pop culture refresher every year.
You talk about that.
So
that's not even nobody watches the VMAs anymore. And I used to be a hardcore VMA. That was appointment viewing for me every year.
We got to get out of here before we embarrass ourselves even further. 20-10, the score for the Texas Longhorns over the Arkansas Razorbacks. Texas moves to 9-1, 5-1 in the SEC. They're still chugging along to potentially get into the SEC title game. They've got Kentucky next week, 2:30 p.m. Nice little early afternoon game. That'll be here in Austin, DKR Texas Memorial Stadium on ABC. If you can't make it out to the game, Jonathan, thanks for joining me, man.
Hey, man, it was fun.
Really appreciate it. And for Jonathan Thomas, I'm Billy Gates. This has been Instant Analysis, and we'll talk to you again very soon.